el exec, el exec. El Velez, el Velez, el Velez. El fenómeno que todos quieren ser. El chamaquito que no pueden entender.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, either episode 148 or 149. But I have everything jumbled because, as you know, this is my first episode in like 3 weeks. It was unfortunate that I couldn't get my World Series prediction out to you guys before the World Series ended. I wanted to do it that day, the day before it started, that Thursday, but moved into a new apartment. We're at a new spot. You're not going to hear no birds. It's just me and my girl. We're going to get some editing. We're going to get clips. Like, we're really going to start moving with this. But first of all, I want to tell you how thankful I am that you guys still want the episodes and you guys keep supporting me, and how we're going to break this down, because I'm going to catch you up on everything that has happened sports-wise. I'm not leaving stuff behind. I'm not leaving my predictions behind. We've had some good weeks. Formula One has gotten interesting. So has NASCAR. Basketball started. So we're going to catch you up on all that. But right now, today, this episode is mainly going to be about this week and the World Series. I'm going to break down the World Series first. I'm going to break down all 5 games. We had an absolute classic. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about my predictions as well. And then we're going to talk about F1 in Brazil, in São Paulo. We're going to talk about Martinsville, NASCAR. The Final 4 are set for Phoenix. Only one Hendrick car made it in. Shocking, really. And then we're going to talk about football in college and in the pros. We had another pretty good week with predictions. So let's start with what I felt every game, no matter what was going on. This World Series was incredible. It was covered by the big media outlets, by the ESPNs, by the Fox Sports Ones, by everybody as the series of series. We hadn't seen it since 1981. RIP to Fernando Valenzuela. He was the one that actually closed out and pitched a hell of a Game 5 shutout to secure the Dodgers that victory on that last matchup that they had. And this is the greatest rivalry in baseball when it comes to the World Series. They've met a total of 24 times, I believe. I have it written right here, actually. The first time since 1981. I might have it written. If not, it's been a minute. Like, they've gone back and forth for championships, early 30s, the 50s, 70s, 80s. Like, they that's where the two superpowers of baseball, and that there still are today. So, game 1. Let's talk about my predictions first. We'll talk about what happened in the games. The games were absolutely incredible. I said before I even made my predictions, because of how Walker Buehler and Yoshinobu Yamamoto were pitching, I said that if those two pitchers come in as aces, and what that means is, like, they're at the top of their game, coming off the injury, they're both comfortable going innings, having their stuff, having that 96 top of the zone, having that nasty split, having that nasty slider, the sweeper, the curve. You get what I'm saying? Like, I felt like those two combined with Jack Flaherty were better than what the Yankees could put out, because, yeah, I love Garrett Cole. But after Garrett Cole, you put up a Carlos Rodon who's susceptible to the home run because he likes throwing too many fastballs in the zone against a team like the Dodgers who don't like to swing outside, so the slider ain't working. And we'll talk about what happened then. But I felt before the series even started that the pitching matchup, although that in looking at it from on paper, you would say, the pitching matchup, starting pitching, is the advantages to the Yankees. Cole, Rodon, Heel, still have Stroman. You still got Cortez. Still got Schmidt. But in my opinion, what the media failed to realize is, one, Walker Buehler was coming off an injury and looked really good in that last outing. Really good. The fastball was there. The slider was there. The curve was there. The nasty Walker Buehler that had won World Series games before and playoff games before. He's one of the best playoff pitchers of all time after this World Series. And then a 26-year-old Yoshinobu Yamamoto coming off of 3 Japanese MVPs, 3 Japanese Cy Youngs, pitched in the World Series over there twice. These guys are built for this moment. They've been here before. When a pitcher gains confidence in their stuff again, and it's an ace pitcher, I'm not betting against that. So I knew, to me, the Dodgers, one, had a way deeper lineup. And it's not because of Shohei. It's not because of Freeman, although we're going to talk about Freeman. It's not because of Mookie. It's because of everybody 5 through 9, because Teoscar's another beast. So 5 through 9, you're talking Will Smith, Muncy, Edman, who was insane in the NLCS and won the NLCS MVP. Lux when he gets his opportunity. Kike, a proven playoff performer. You know what I'm saying? It's just a deeper lineup that were playing better, and it was literally a clash of two styles. And the thing that came back to bite the Yankees is the thing that had been biting them all season long, but they just destroyed people over the 162 offensively. But what happens when you face the best pitching you can face against an approach against your pitchers, who the only one who could really do some damage is Garrett Cole, because he's the one that had the stuff to really match that lineup. And we're going to talk about Shohei. We're going to talk about Aaron Judge. What happened in the World Series? Who really won the World Series? What was the points of emphasis in this World Series when both lineups were seen as juggernauts, especially at the top of the order on both sides? You had people that when a pitcher looks to him, if the pitcher don't got his nuts straight, he's scared. And when you pitch scared, you make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? For the Yankees, you always had to think about Judge, right? But no. The guy you always got to think about with the Yankees is the guy before Judge and the guy after Judge. You got to think about Juan. Juan's going to get on base. Juan is a 25, now 26-year-old, basically first ballot Hall of Famer as he stands today. He's going to get the bag. I hope he gets it from the Yankees. He might get like $650 million for like 10 years. That seems pretty legit. Although the Mets are going to throw him the bag, and there's other teams that are definitely going to throw him the bag. And then Giancarlo Stanton, who is one of the greatest playoff performers in MLB history and has the greatest home run per at-bat rate in the history of the playoffs. Only 8 at-bats. And with this postseason, he lowered that to go into Babe Ruth, into first. He was second at the beginning of the playoffs, and now he's first by like 0.8 of an at-bat, which is a lot considering that Giancarlo has not had nearly the amount of at-bats that Babe Ruth had in the playoffs. And so he's a great player. And in this playoffs, he was locked in. What do I mean by locked in? Every time this man stepped in the box, one or two things would happen. A hard hit ball, 115 plus, or an absolute nuke. A nuke. One of these like, what, nope. One of like, whoa, that's scary. Like, that's scary power. That was Giancarlo this postseason. And it was like literally anything close to his swing path, outside, getting extended down, anything he could think he could hit, he put the barrel on the baseball, and most of the time it didn't come back. So let's talk about game 1, right? My prediction was Dodgers in 6. That was my prediction going in. It changed once I realized how good the pitching disparity that I talked about at the beginning within the 3 starting pitchers of each side became. Because one thing is, I got a good 4 starting pitchers. Okay, good, one great one. One future Hall of Famer probably in Garrett Cole. Cy Young winner, nasty dude. Okay, and then I got 3 guys. 99, nasty curves, a rookie but that throws 99. So I got people with stuff. But I'm going to tell you this right now. When the Dodgers are right, even with the 3 that they had, because they did have a bullpen game, which I predicted that they would lose. We'll talk about that. That was game 4. I said if they come with their A-game pitching, those 3, they win the series. Because it's whoever's starting pitchers goes deeper and whoever's bullpen gets less taxed. And for the Dodgers, that was a big issue because they didn't know what they were going to get from Jack, get from Yoshinobu, or get from Walker, knowing that game 4, they had to throw the bullpen. Because there was no Glass now. There was no Gonsolin. There was no Trevor May, no Bobby Miller, no Gavin Stone. These are all starting pitchers that went down this year. No Clayton Kershaw. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get, when we talk about these games and we talk about the end of the World Series, we're going to understand why in the next few years, this might be a reoccurring thing with the Dodgers. So game 1, Jack Flaherty, Garrett Cole. Immediately, it is in Dodger Stadium. So my favorites were the Dodgers. Now, this is the thing about Jack. Jack, you could tell if he has it in the first inning. First 3 pitches. If that fastball is at 93, 94, good Jack Flaherty. If it's at 90, we got a problem. And he's going to be out quick. Okay? So, what happened? This is what happened. All right? Simple. I'm going to tell you this right here. Game 1. So, the Dodgers win game 1 on the first ever walk-off grand slam in the history of the playoff, in the history of the World Series. Not only that, it was the first walk-off in the World Series since Kirk Gibson did it for the Dodgers against the Yankees in the 80s. So the 2 walk-off homers in World Series history are both by a Dodger. The more hilarious thing is this one was in extra innings, and how they got there was incredible. Okay? So Freddie hit a grand slam on the first pitch he saw, but the leading up to it was crazy. So what happens? So the Yankees take a 3-2 lead in the top of the 10th off a Jazz, like he steals second and third and then comes home on an Edman hard-to-handle hit a grounder by Volpe. Volpe safe. Jazz comes home. They take a 3-2 lead. Giancarlo's homered on the top of the 6th to make it 2-1. Okay? And then, because I believe Freddie, how the Dodgers got the first run in the first inning, it wasn't by a home run. It was, sac flies. It was 2 sac flies that tied up the game. 2-2. Okay? You go through the whole game. Jack doesn't give him that many innings. He gives him enough, but he doesn't give him everything. Cole, on the other hand, pitches 6 1/3 of 1-run baseball. 1-run baseball. Your ace. He's at 84 pitches. First mistake of the World Series. Talked about it immediately. Derek Jeter talked about it. Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz talked about it in the post-game show. You don't take out your horse game 1 of the World Series on the road when he's dealing with 84 pitches. This is why you signed him to a $325 million contract. Not to pull him with 84 pitches and then let your bullpen take the rest of the innings. He rectified that mistake in game 5. It was just too late. But so what happens? Cole gets out. The 6 comes. Giancarlo hits the homer. They tie it the Dodgers tie it. So it's 2-2 going into the top of the 10th. Jazz gets in 3-2. Man, the series of events that happens in the 10th. Walk. Error. Walk. Or like a hit. Bases loaded. Against Luke Weaver. Their best closer. He's in the game. Bases loaded. 2 outs. What does Aaron Boone do? Instead of, hey, I'm going to live by the sword or die by the sword with my closer. He's the guy that's taking me here. I'm going to ride him. Hell no. This man brings in, he has Tim Hill, who's another dude who has been lights out for him out of the pen the whole postseason. But he says, nah. I'm smarter than that. I'm going to go get a guy that hasn't pitched in 37 days, who has no velocity, in Nestor Cortez, a guy that probably is not even in my starting rotation, which he wasn't. It was Garrett Cole, Rodon, Schmidt, and Hill. That was a starting 4, with Stroman probably as his 5th. And this man puts, after Mookie gets on to load the bases, this man puts a lefty against a dude who has hit 4 grand slams, has an average of over 600 when the bases are loaded versus lefties in his career, and has done it in the World Series before. Freddie Freeman. Freddie, until this point, had homered already in 2 back-to-back World Series games going back to Atlanta when they won it in 2022. I believe Atlanta won it when Acuna was hurt. So Freddie had already hit 2 home runs going back to Atlanta in back-to-back World Series games. And Nestor Cortez, for some reason, decides that the best idea for his first pitch in the bottom of the 10th inning of Game 1, while winning with 2 outs against Freddie Freeman, is a 93 mile per hour inside low, literally like down in the zone, perfect quadrant for a lefty hitter's power stroke. And when Freddie hit this ball, is one of the sickest pictures you will ever see in sports. He's holding the bat like this. Because as soon as he hit it 423 feet. A no-doubter. Grand slam. Walk-off to win 3-6. Game 1. When the Yankees had it in the bag. 1 out left. 1-0. We go to Game 2. Who pitches Game 2? Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Carlos Rodon. So the kid, the rookie, the guy that they got, the superstar that they paid $325 million for 10 years, or for 12, that came from Japan, the sensation, coming off a elbow, not an elbow injury, I believe it was a shoulder, and we didn't know what we were going to get. The last outing was really good. The one in the NLCS was really good. So I felt confident about Yoshinobu. You know why? Because I already had seen his story. The guy is a big game pitcher. Ain't no nerves. Ain't no I'm scared of pitching to nobody. Nah. This kid's like this. Throwing 96 to 98. One of the sickest splitters you've ever seen. 6 spin on the curve. The changeup is nasty. And he's not scared. He wasn't scared. What does Carlos do? The opposite. Carlos is big, power pitcher, gonna try to intimidate you, uses his emotions. That shit does not work against an experienced, well-disciplined, and a team with a plan from day one. We're not swinging out of the zone. We're going to force you to throw strikes in the zone. The thing about a hard-throwing righty throwing in the zone, 99, top of the letters, if you miss, the top 3 guys in that lineup can hurt you. Okay? And we're not even talking about Ohtani, guys. That's the crazy thing. Ohtani didn't have a crazy series. He didn't hit a home run. He hit a couple hard balls. He got people in. He drove a couple in. But the hero of this series was Freddie Freeman. So what happens in Game 2? Game 2. The Dodgers win 2-4 off the homers of Tommy Edman again. Soto tied it the next inning. Like Soto just bashed one off of Yoshinobu. Just boom. Left that. Take that. He said, hold that. 1-1. In the top of the second. And then Teo and Freddie go back to back in the bottom of to make it 1-4. And the Yankees added 1 run in the bottom of the 9th, an RBI single. Yoshinobu Yamamoto picked 6 1/3, another 6 1/3 outing. Gave him 6 innings. So what does that leave for Doc, for Dave Roberts? Very simple. A very simple game plan. If I get 6 from my starter, I have 7 arms I can pick from, depending on what am I facing. What pockets am I facing? Am I going to go to a Trinan? No, Trinan was his wild card. He was the one that he knew if he needed a big out, he was going to throw Blake Trinan in. But he had Banda. He had Vesia. He had Brusdar Graterol. He got him back. He was a little wild, but he did the job. You know what I'm saying? But he had to save some of the arms. So when a starter gives you 6 1/3 solid innings, you can play around with your bullpen. You don't feel stressed to finish the game to get those last 9 outs. You get what I'm saying? So Stanton had an RBI single in the 9th to make it 2-4. Yoshinobu pitched 6 1/3, only allowing the home run by Soto with 4 strikeouts. Rodon pitched well, but his fastball got murdered on the homers. The Dodgers pen closed it out with Banda, Trinan, and Vesia. They go up 2-0. Heading to New York, and Ohtani hurt his shoulder sliding into second. That's another thing. Ohtani wasn't right for the rest of Game 2, which was when he got hurt, it was kind of late. I think it was his last at bat. Sliding into second, stealing second. And, overextended, had a subluxation of his shoulder. Nothing too crazy. He played the rest of the games. He tried to hit, but you could tell it was bothering him a little bit, trying to get his ace swing off and just not being able to come off of that shoulder. But they didn't need him. Going into Game 2, Freddie had hit a home run in 3 straight World Series games. 3 straight. What happens this game? Very simple. Freddie and Teoscar Hernandez, another big game dude that they brought there from Seattle to be a big piece to that lineup and putting him in the 4 spot after a Freddie Freeman gives you the ability of like, okay, I got to pitch to Ohtani. Got to pitch to Mookie. Got to pitch to Freddie. And then I got to pitch to Teoscar. And then that's just the beginning of your problems because you still got Edman, Kike, Will Smith, Gavin Lux, Pajes, who woke up a little bit in the NLCS. Whoever they wanted to put there, they still had bats in the bottom of the order, which was also a very telling sign of not just only this postseason, but a very telling sign this World Series. Okay? So Rodon got murdered off of his fastball with Freeman and Teoscar. Freeman now has hit 4 home runs in 4 straight World Series games. The record is 5. The record's 5. Okay? Nobody's thinking that he's doing this. They just know he's hot. Why is he hot? He said it after Game 1. My ankle's fully healthy. The time that we got off from the NLCS to the World Series, I got my full treatment, and I got my ankle to where it's supposed to be. Guys, remember, this guy's a dude that can hit 35 home runs. You just don't remember him because he was hurt the first 2 rounds of the playoffs with his ankle. It was just like doubles here, just grinding out singles, running out a grounder, but Freeman's one of those dudes. First ballot Hall of Famer, 300 career hitter, a guy that you don't play with. So they win game 2. Okay? Another horrible outing by Aaron Judge. Another 3 strikeout game. At this point, his average is dipped below the ones for the series after game 2. It's like 0.92 with like 8-9 strikeouts. Like it's bad. Okay, and everybody's wondering what is gonna happen. Why is this happening? So we go to game 3. Dodgers 1 win away from a world title for the first time in 37 years after a 4-2 win in New York. Coming back. First time since 2009 that Yankees get a home World Series game. And what happens? Bam. 3-0 hole in the World Series against the Dodgers at home. What happened? Freddie Freeman. First inning home run. I'm talking about first inning. Think about this. First game in New York. Everybody's hype and everything. And to silence the crowd, you could hear a pin drop when he hit that home run. Another no-doubter. Remember, you got the short porch in Yankee Stadium. So anything that's hit in the air, if it's hit with a little power, it's going out. Exactly what happened. 2-0. Boom. First inning. Here we go again. But then you're asking yourself, but what about Walker Buehler? What is he going to be okay? Is he going to pitch fine? Tack on runs later in the game. Walker Buehler pitches 5 2-hit innings, so he pitches great, with 5 strikeouts, and Judge struggles again. Verdugo hits a 9th inning home run to make it 4-2 off of Kopech. The bullpen shuts it down again. 3-0. So what did I tell you at the beginning? I told you if those 3 pitchers come correct, I can see a 3-0. Because you can't tell me, even with Juan Soto and Giancarlo, the way that we're playing, you still got Volpe. You still got Wells. Glaber, which was playing pretty well, but then got cold again. And then you got to like Verdugo and Jazz, and you got to mix and match there. And then you look at the Dodgers lineup, and it's just a butcher, just butcher knives. Just literal butcher knives. Like, who are you going to pick? Oh, no, Ohtani has the shoulder. It's like, okay, well, you got Mookie, 2-time champ. Freddie, 2-time champ. Teoscar's a hell of a dog. Kike's a 2-time champ. Edman is a hell of a dog. You know what I'm saying? Will Smith is a great hitter for a catcher. Gavin Lux can do some damage. Pajes didn't even have to get out the bench. So it's 3-0. Jack Flaherty, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler with that start enters a very select pantheon of pitchers in World Series history. And then he added to it in Game 5, which we'll talk about. So it's 3-0, right? Everything possible to win Game 4. They said the objective is to get on the bird. What does that mean? Get back for Game 6. Get back to LA. That was the goal. Nobody in World Series history that had been down 3-0 had ever forced a Game 6. We've never seen a Game 6 seen a game 6 when a team is down 3-0 in the World Series. The only comeback from 3-0 in baseball history was the 2004 Red Sox against the Yankees with that grand slam by David Ortiz and the whole, that 2004 squad with Kurt Schilling and Pedro and Josh Beckett and Lowell and, Victorino, that legendary team. So Yankees stave off a sweep in the World Series by beating the Dodgers in Game 4 with a score of 4-11. They got to the Dodgers bullpen early. After Freddie Freeman, first inning 2-run homer, another one, so he sets the record for consecutive World Series games with 6 in a row. Remember, he hit one the last game in Game 3, so that would have been 5 in a row. That's tying the record. And now he hit it a 6th time in the first inning. That's how locked in this guy was. He wasn't letting no cookie by. If it's in the zone, I'm swinging. And if I make contact, it's leaving. It's getting hit hard. Okay, so they win 4-11. Freddie Freeman hits a 2-run home run, sets the record for consecutive World Series games with the home run, 6, passing George Springer of the Astros. And then in the third inning, Anthony Volpe explodes with a grand slam, the 6th grand slam we see in the postseason, also an all-time record. And the Dodgers made it a 1-run game in the bottom of the third, and then the Yankees had a 5-run 8th inning with the Austin Wells homer, hits against, they destroyed Honeywell. Judge made contact, finally got a double, got woken up a little bit. Glaber hit a homer as well. Garrett Cole, Jack Flaherty in Game 5, series 3-1 in New York. So as a Dodger, as people that are looking at the Dodgers and as people that are looking at the Yankees, now they're like, oh, Judge woke up. Maybe it's possible. Garrett Cole, Judge, Volpe hitting, the hometown kid. We still got Soto. We still got Giancarlo. Maybe there's a chance. No. There is no chance. You restarted the order. There was a chance after Game 1 where maybe you could have gotten Game 2. Maybe you could have gotten Game 3. But you fell down 3-0. And you knew the order was coming back up again. And the funny thing is, if you would have won against Jack Flaherty, you had to face the two guys that basically shut you out. So it was no chance. It was just a matter of not if, but when. When were they going to lose? Turned out to be Game 5, and I also predicted that. Okay? So the Dodgers complete the biggest comeback in World Series clinching game history. They go down 5-0 in the 5th inning. Okay? Off of a bunch of errors and bad fielded balls and just a mess. Okay? With Jazz hitting a homer, Judge hitting a homer. They go back to back in the bottom of the first. Giancarlo hit one in the second. So they're up 5-0. 3 homers. Look like they're about to run away, and Garrett Cole is absolutely dealing. Okay? After the 5th inning, the bottom of the 5th comes. And everything you got to say about the Dodgers is that they don't quit. There is no lack of hustle. There is attention to every single detail. They're champions. Championship mentality, championship maturity, and championship talent. Judge drops an easy fly ball. First error of the inning. Man on first. Error by Volpe. Throwing the Jazz. Man on second and third. Okay? Another error by... I have actually all 3 errors right here. Aaron Judge started the top of the 5th with the error. Then Volpe, then Rizzo and Cole get confused on a grounder to basically end the inning. Rizzo grabs a grounder thinking that Garrett Cole's going to be covering first. And Cole looks at him and goes, and they don't get it, bases loaded. A hit by Freddie Freeman. A hit here and there. And boom, out of nowhere, 5-5. And you're like, whoa. As soon as they got to 5-5, I knew the Dodgers were going to win. Because that is absolutely demoralizing to the spirit of the Yankees when they pull out a 5-run lead in the 5th inning and they can't hold the lead for 1 inning. All those 5 runs were unearned. None of them were on Garrett Cole. But he had used up his arm in that 5th. You think he cared? Absolutely not. Garrett Cole pitched 7 innings of great baseball. Gave it everything he had. Got to 100 pitches. Gave his team every single opportunity possible for them to come out on top. Okay? They fell behind again, 5-6. And then tied it. And then took the lead in the top of the 8th. And how does Doc want it finished? Very simple. Let me throw out the 2 guys that have shown me, one who's a historical World Series pitcher. I'm going to use him as a closer, and then I'm going to put in my actual closer, the guy who's been nails for me to get me 6 outs, to get me to the guy who's I'm putting in the 9th. So he picked up Blake Trinan. Put him in. Blake gave him 2 great innings. And what does he do? What does he decide to do? Doc Roberts, knowing that he could win the World Series right here, 3 outs in the 9th inning, facing, I believe it was the heart of the order. If not, it was the bottom of the order for the Yankees. What does he do? He says, hey, Walker, you ain't pitching tomorrow. It was going to be Yoshinobu anyway because Jack Flaherty pitched. He said, Walker Buehler, come close it out. And Walker Buehler closed out the game. And Dodgers are the 2024 World Series champions. Freddie Freeman, easy World Series MVP. With basically the most legendary performance we've ever seen in a World Series. 4 home runs, 12 RBIs. I mean, the guy was absolutely, you couldn't get him out. And when he got on the bases, he was still a menace. Great fielding at first. You could tell that he was healthy. Now let's put it in perspective. Because the craziest thing about this game is that Jack Flaherty didn't last he didn't last 3 innings. He went 2 1/3 after Jazz and Aaron took him deep. And then Giancarlo. 2 1/3. Being down 5-0, Doc was like, I'm still gonna try to give my offense an opportunity to respond. He didn't put no Kasperius in. He didn't put any Honeywell. He didn't put none of his B arms. He kept at it, threw in Vesia, threw in Bruce Gratterall, threw in Banda, just to keep him in it, pitching-wise. Just to get to Trinan. That's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to get to Trinan. But once his team gave him a 5-5 tie game in the 5th inning, he was like, oh, I can make it to Trinan now. I could throw my big arms. I can try to close it out right here in New York. I don't have to go back home. That's exactly what he did. Doc Roberts managed an insane, and this is not understated, an insane postseason. To be out not only your number 1 starter, your Hall of Famer, your 2 best young pitchers in Bobby Miller and Gavin Stone, plus Trevor May, and the star that you brought in to be your number 1 because Shohei wasn't pitching this year in Glasnow. and still win the World Series against the Yankees in 5 games? Only losing a bullpen game? That's absolutely incredible. That's absolutely incredible. And just to think, now I'm going to put it in perspective. Just to think that next year you have this is your starting 4 for next year. I want you to understand this. Glasnow, Ohtani, Yoshinobu, and that 4th guy, it could be Jack Flaherty. It's probably Walker Buehler. It could be Bobby Miller. It could be Gavin Stone. It could be Trevor May. That's disgusting. That means they go 6 deep with aces, with people with legit ace stuff. 6 deep. That's absolutely insane to me. Ohtani gets a ring his first time getting out of the Angels. Yoshinobu Yamamoto as a rookie gets a ring. The 2 biggest Japanese superstars right now in the game, because Roki Sasaki still plays in Japan. And he's going to probably get a bag this upcoming summer before the season starts from somebody, whether that's the Padres, the Mets. Somebody's going to throw him another $300+ million at this 23-year-old phenom. But for them to get rings first year, that's absolutely incredible, man. You couldn't write it any better. Dodgers, Yankees, Ohtani gets his first ring as a DH, and he's going to win the championship, the MVP as a DH for the first time ever after a 50-50 season, and he pitches next year? That's absolutely insane. So congratulations to the Dodgers. I predicted that they would win. It's the series we all wanted. It's the series that had the baseball world in a frenzy, that everybody wanted to cover it. Everybody was intrigued. And the biggest 2 stars weren't even the actual marquee of it. They were just the setup. What won the Dodgers this ring? There's a lot of things, whether it's the lineup, whether it's the beautiful Doc Roberts managing. But I think that it ultimately comes down to being so disciplined in an approach at the plate. And we saw it versus the Padres. Both teams don't swing outside the zone. They're going to make you pay if you go inside the zone. So you have to make pitches. And the Yankees had 1 dude that could make pitches and 3 guys who were like up and down. Dodgers got the most length, except Jack Flaherty in that last game 5, but got the most length out of their starters. And to have that approach, to be that disciplined 1 through 9, because one thing is that Shohei doesn't do it. Mookie doesn't do it. Freddie doesn't do it. Even Teoscar. But for a guy like Kike, Edman, Will Smith, Gavin Lux, for them to maintain, Max Muncy, for them to maintain the same approach of like, look the ball in. If it's outside the zone, we're not swinging. Look the ball in. If it's outside the zone, it's not so. And when you get that one mistake, to be able to capitalize on it, especially with runners in scoring position, is absolutely incredible. The team that walked more won, because walking in the postseason is important. They both had the same approach at the plate, but one team wasn't looking for the power. The other team got relegated to rely on power. And once you rely on power, you are at a disadvantage against the team who just looks for contact. Because the Dodgers weren't trying to get their A++ swing every single pitch. They were trying to get their A++ swing at good pitches to hit. And that's the difference. And now we might see a run of, we haven't seen back-to-back in a long time. We haven't seen back-to-back World Series champions. But the Dodgers have the blueprint to be able to do it. Now, for your Yankees, this is going to hurt. It's going to hurt Yankees fan. I'm a Yankees fan myself, but I really wanted Ohtani to win. I was a Dodgers fan in this series, I'm not going to lie. But I love both teams. Now, you got to ask Cashman, Steinbrenner, and the whole conglomerate of who owns the Yankees, are you going to pay Juan Soto 10 years, $650 million? And if the Mets come with a bigger offer, can you either counter or tell Juan Soto, hey, I know you're a Yankee. I know you want to be a Yankee. I know you love to be here and you love the moment. You love the pinstripes. Stay. In my opinion, knowing Boros, his agent, he's going to look for the biggest bag. So it's going to be on Juan if he's going to take the biggest bag, which might be the Mets, or is he going to ride with the Yankees? I think he stays with the Yankees. I think he loves the history. I think he loves him making his name there for the next 10 years, already being basically cemented as an all-time great alongside Aaron Judge and Stanton and Volpe. Cole. Got to add another arm. I think they're going to go after another arm. I don't know who's out there right now. I haven't looked at the pieces of who's going to be free agents and stuff like that, but the Yankees are definitely going after another arm. Another elite arm to put next to Garrett Cole. But shout out to the Dodgers, man. 2024 World Series champions. None of that 2021 COVID, none of that. None of that. 162 came out on top, hurt and all, 1-5. Shout out to the Dodgers. Hell of a World Series. Absolutely electric from pitch 1 to the last pitch of Game 5 in the 9th inning of Walker Buehler. Absolute incredible theater. Cinema. Incredible. All right. We're going to talk about Formula One now. This past weekend. We'll catch up later in the episode with the other weekends. This weekend was so weird. Sao Paulo, Brazil. The place that Ayrton Senna built. Still outselling every driver at that event with his merch. And an absolute rainstorm in qualifying and the race. Lewis gets knocked out in Q1 again. Car's just doesn't do what he wants to. He's tentative. He's not confident in it. It's slipping on him. Okay? So who gets pole? Lando gets pole. What happened to Max? Max had a 10-place grid penalty from last week fighting with Norris. So he starts 17th because he gets caught out in Q2 and can't get, and Q2 got a red flag because there was multiple red flags in qualifying, and he got caught out with the red flag and couldn't put in a lap. So he starts 17th. Norris, Russell, 1-2. First formation lap. Somebody's off the track already. That formation lap doesn't count. Got to get that car off the track. Second formation lap. They get to the grid. It's raining still. Everybody's on inters. And Lando does a bad start procedure. But everybody did. Because nobody could see. And, it was a wonky start. They finally get a good formation lap. Everybody gets in the blocks. In the starting grid. Lights out happens. And you think Lando's going to get a good start off of Russell. But there's something about that McLaren when it comes to the second phase of when power comes on into the wheels, that it just doesn't react as fast as the other cars, Mercedes, your Ferraris, and your Red Bulls. So whatever. Russell passes him. First corner in the race. And you're like, okay, maybe this is a Russell race. Lando runs him down. And Lando runs him down. He passes him, but in the first corner, Verstappen also picks up 5 spots. So he goes from 17th to 12th. Then goes to 10th. Already in the points. And then the first crash happens. First crash happens. We get a virtual safety car. Then it turns into a safety car. When it turns into the safety car, pit stops are already happening. Both Norris and Russell come to pit. As they leaving the pits and doing one lap, the red flag hits. What happens? When the red flag hits, Verstappen was in the front. So he hits pit lane first, gets Albon was in the front. Verstappen was second when the red flag drops. Red flag drops. What happens? Okay, Lando and Russell get caught in the back, in the mid-pack, because they already had come out in the mid-pack when they do the yellow flag pit stops. A red flag, you have a pit stop. Don't lose no time because everybody's there while the red flag is happening. After the red flag, both Alpines are, I believe, either 1-2 or a 1-3. Albon, not Albon, Ocon and Gasly. You want to hear what happens next? Start of the race again. Red flag is lifted. This man, Max Verstappen, from 17th, takes 5 laps to get temperature in the inters. Mind you, it's still raining. Gets temperature in the inters. Chases down Pierre Gasly. Passes him. And wins by 19 seconds. With what happens to Norris, hell of a drive, by the way, coming from 17th, and you need the good brakes and everything like that. But what happened to Norris, this was the chance for him to get a 26-point gain on Verstappen's championship lead, and instead Verstappen takes the 26 points home. Russell takes home 8. And now you look at the championship standings and you're like, with 2 races left, Vegas and Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi, all Verstappen has to do, I think, is just get a podium in the next race, even if Norris wins, and he clinches his 4th championship in a row, which we saw coming. We said we didn't want it. We got it interesting, but at the end of the day, Verstappen did the legwork the first 5 races of the season, winning them all. He built enough of a cushion that even though he hadn't had the fastest or best car since probably mid-May, he still kept the leading in the championship. Broke Michael Schumacher's record of 846 days straight as the championship leader. Another all-time great record I don't think will ever be broken again. And ultimately, hell of a drive to win by 19 seconds in a rainstorm. And this man is just every lap, the last 15 laps, it was fastest lap from 122, 121. We're dropping into the 120s, almost the 119s in the rain at Interlagos. Absolutely incredible. Got to give him props. Even though I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, and I don't want him to win another championship. It would tie him with Vettel for Red Bull's most championships in a row with 4. Considering next year will probably be McLaren's year, if not Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton, and maybe Adrian Newey goes over there. We'll see. But shout out to Max. And shout out to Alpine. First time Alpine finishes in double podium since like the Renault days, since the early 2000s. Probably since they had Fernando, if I'm not mistaken, Alonso. And it was Felipe, I believe it's Felipe Massa or Nasser. But the last time they had a double podium, it's been over 20 years since Renault, or what's now known as Alpine, had a double podium. So congratulations to them. They earned $50 million with that result. Went up 6 spots in the Constructors' Championship. $50 million in at the end of the season of allocation is incredible. So shout out to Alpine and the team at Enstone. Okay? All right. Let's get into NASCAR this past weekend. Martinsville. Okay? So Blaney wins. Passes William Byron in the last 15 laps, or passes Chase Elliott. And with that, you know, a race that was really dominated by Hendrick, by Byron, by Larson, by Elliott. And at one point, they were all in the top 4. You know, 2 of them were in. One of them had to stay out because Reddick and Logano had already won, so they were already in. And we've been talking about Larson forever, and, you know, he just didn't have the car to win. He got stuck behind some traffic, some pit stops. He finished well, but he just didn't finish high enough. The only guy from Hendrick that made it in, and we're going to talk about how he made it in, William Byron. William Byron is the only one that doesn't have a championship besides Bowman, but of the elite of Hendrick, which is Elliott, him, and Larson. He doesn't have a championship. So William Byron is up 1 point with 2 laps left. Makes a pass, I believe, on Truex to get into like 3rd or 2nd, and be in the show. On the last lap, Christopher Bell passes Bubba Wallace, but in the process of passing Bubba Wallace, he hits the wall and rides the wall all the way to the finish line. They finish at 0-0. The tie goes to Christopher Bell because he's won more races and he had more points going into that race. But then NASCAR comes after the race, takes 4 points away, a 4-point penalty against Christopher Bell because of safety standards, because he literally passed Bubba Wallace, lost control of his car, hit the wall, and kept going. Can't do that. It's dangerous. So then Byron makes it in. So the top 4 are set. We got Tyler Reddick for 23-11. Joey Logano for Penske. William Byron and Ryan Blaney, the defending champion. We have 4 different, actually no, because Blaney, I believe, is Penske as well. So we have 2 Penskes, 1 Hendrick, and 1 2311. Toyota, Ford, Chevy. In Phoenix, and I'm telling you, man, I think personally it's between Tyler Reddick and William Byron. Christopher Bell didn't make it in, and he was the one with the most points, with the most momentum heading into Martinsville. There's 2 champions in there. One being Logano, savvy racer, really good, especially in Phoenix. Has won there before, 4 championship. And Blaney, who did it last year. But I think Tyler Reddick just has enough hunger, has been the best overall driver this whole season, won the regular season championship, has been really good in the playoffs, and won. And then Byron is just a Hendrick car, bro. What does that mean? That he could literally come with a dominant car to Phoenix and nobody touches him and he wins the championship. Really excited about it. That was this week. Last week was Homestead here in Miami. That was won by Reddick in dominant fashion. And it's nice. It's nice that a Hendrick car made it in, and for William to make it in, it's nice because he can go after a championship and not look up at his other two teammates. That have championships already. But man, it would have been nice for Larson to go after a second one. But shout out to the top 4. Okay. All right. We're gonna briefly, we're going to go over the NCAA. Okay? We're going to go over the NCAA real quick because I want to get to the NFL. But the NCAA has gotten very interesting. I went to the UM game against Duke, watched Cam Ward in person, watched Xavier Restrepo in person. He broke the all-time receiving record at UM. What? Let me repeat that again. Xavier Restrepo broke the all-time receiving record at the University of Miami. That means that he has broken every Michael Irving, Andre Johnson, I believe Antoine Randall. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Broke it with 148 yards. And started off with 4 drops that were basically 4 touchdowns. But Cam Ward kept going to him, kept going to Horton. They ran the ball pretty well with Damian Martinez. And it was they were losing at halftime. And then Cam Ward, like I said to the people that were next to me, I was like, now watch him take over in the second half. That's exactly what they did. Put up 53 on him. Hit my bet, too. Hit my parlay. Didn't hit it completely because Texas A&M and Clemson shit the bed. But, I hit the over with them and also the spread. Okay, so Boise State is still they're 15th right now. They still only have 1 loss. Ashton Genty he ran for another 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy is trying to break the 37-year-old Barry Sanders record for rushing touchdowns in one season. If he does that, it might be the Heisman for him. First one since Derrick Henry handed to a runner, I believe it would be. And, for him to take it over Travis Hunter would be insane. Because right now, what Travis Hunter is doing is crazy. Ohio State beats Penn State in a close one, 20-13. Defensive struggle most of the time. Miami beats Duke 53-31. They stay undefeated. They're 5th in the nation. Ole Miss beats the dog shit out of Arkansas, 63-31. Army stays undefeated, 23-3 against Air Force. Illinois loses against Minnesota, 25-17. Oregon stays number 1, beats Michigan, 38-17. Oregon's the real deal. Georgia beats Florida in a close game, but ultimately pull away, 34-20. Texas Tech beats Iowa State and drops their undefeated streak. 23-22 on a game-winning, on a game-winning touchdown with 12 seconds left. Indiana stays undefeated against Michigan State, 47-10. Houston beats Kansas State, 24-19. Texas A&M gets smacked by South Carolina, 44-20. Louisville beats Clemson, 33-21. Tennessee skates by Kentucky, 28-18. And SMU beats Pitt, loses their undefeated ranking against SMU, 48-25. I mean, we're getting to the nitty-gritty here, guys. We're getting to the point where the only undefeated teams left in the country is Miami, Oregon, Army, and Indiana. That's it. Now, the rankings are Miami 5 because of strength of schedule, and, of course, Oregon number 1 because they haven't lost and they've beat Ohio State, and they've beat everybody who they've needed to beat. But it's nut checking time for the top 4 and the top 12, and who's going to get the at-large bids, and who's going to make it to the championship games and have a chance to make it to the top 12. Now let's go to the NFL. Okay. My predictions this week, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got the Chiefs tonight. So far we are 10-4. Pretty good. Pretty good for this week. I got the Texans wrong against the Jets. No Nico Collins, no Stephon Diggs. Really, really hurt the Texans. They ran the ball well with Joe Mixon, but they just couldn't put the game away. And the Jets found a little rhythm. Garrett Wilson made 2 incredible. One was one hand run into the end zone untouched. Oh, that was dope. The second one was a Jordan Pose one-handed Odell type of catch in the back of the end zone. Just stuck it. Just dook. With his arm stretched out. Looks like the Jordan logo. I mean, it was incredible. And then, of course, he throws a what I like to call a signal touchdown to Devontae. He sees a look. He likes it. Devontae's running is in the slot. He runs a slot fade wide open to win the game, basically to pull away. Stroud this game was 11 for 30, so not a good showing. 101, 6.4 average, 8 sacks for 56 yards, just a QBR of 27.7, a rating of 59.2. One of his worst games of his career. Mixon went 24 for 106, so he ran just fine, a touchdown. Even Stroud put in 59 yards on 8 carries. But Tank Dell went 6 for 126, along a 50 on 9 targets. That's what I expected, considering that no Stephon Diggs, no Nico Collins. Nico Collins should come back this week. Robert Woods caught 2 for 44. Dalton Schultz caught 3 for 21 on 6 targets. And that's it. C.J. Stroud lost a fumble. The defense only got 2 sacks. That was by Danico Autry. And no picks. For the Jets, that Jets defense played really well, held the Houston to 13 points. Aaron Rodgers went 22 for 32, 211, 6.5 yard average, 3 touchdowns, no picks, only 2 sacks for 18 yards, 79.1 QBR, 118.1 rating. Breece Hall went 15 carries for 74 yards, averaging 4.9 yards a carry. I would have liked a little bit more running game, but against a good Houston defense, I understand the lack of balance, being 32 pass attempts to 15 runs. Devontae went 7 for 91, and Garrett Wilson went 9 for 90. Garrett had 2 touchdowns, and Devontae had 1 on, let me guess what I said when these guys got together. How many targets did I said for both of them each? 10 targets each. Devontae got 11. Garrett Wilson got 10. That's what you do when you have 2 superstar number 1 receivers. Because they cannot double both. That's your recipe. Your recipe for success is, where's 17? 10 times. Where's 5? 10 times. Where's 20? 5 to 10 times, 5 times, and then hand them the ball 15 times. That's your recipe for success on the offensive side of the ball for the Jets. Okay? Because nobody else did nothing. All right, Breece Hall caught 2 for 11 on 4 targets. So it was the Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams show, how it should be. Malachi Corley lost a fumble. Breece Hall fumbled, but Will McDonald, he recovered it. And Will McDonald recovered a fumble as well. The defense got 8 sacks, and they came 2 from Jamie Sherwood, 1 from DJ Reed, 1.5 from Quinnen Williams. You had 1 from Solomon Thomas, half a sack from Hassan Reddick, first game back after he signed his deal. And then Michael Clemens had 2 as well. 8 sacks? That's a lot of pressure. No interceptions. But hey, does this matter for the Jets? No. In reality, it does not, because of what the Bills are doing. But it matters for the Jets because if they would have gone 2-7, this season was over. Okay? Every move that they did would have been for naught. It would have been a dumpster fire, and everyone would have gotten fired. What does this win do? Buy him a little bit more time. A little bit more time. Because if they lose again, boy, we're back at square one. This shit sucks. Fire everybody. Clean house. To the studs. Let's start again. Okay? That's the high wire act that they're doing right now. But shout out to the Jets. All right. If we go through the rest of my predictions, I picked the Bills. I picked the Ravens. I picked the Chargers. I picked the Saints, the Bengals, the Commanders, Falcons, picked the Patriots, picked the Bears, picked the Eagles, picked the Lions, picked the Rams, picked the Vikings, picked the Chiefs. So if we go to the results, Bills beat the Dolphins 30-27. The Dolphins looked way better on offense with Tua, but too much Josh Allen, too much Bills defense, and bad unnecessary roughness and ejection to Jordan Poyer that set up the Bills with a 61-yard field goal, which they hit in the waning seconds. Tua went 25 for 28, 231, 8.3 average, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack for 7 yards, an 89.2 QBR, 124.9 rating. I mean, he played really well. Devon Achane went 12 for 63 on the ground and a touchdown. Raheem Mostert went 10 for 56. We're finding that balance again. We went 28-31 run versus pass. Very nice. I like that. Tyreek went 4 for 80. Not what we're used to seeing because he only got 5 targets. Devon Achane went 8 for 58 on 8 targets. He was actually the most targeted person on our offense, our running back. That doesn't bode well. Jonnu Smith went 5 for 36. Devon Achane also caught a touchdown. Odell Beckham finally made it into the box score. He caught 3 for 15 on 3 targets. And Jalen Waddle caught 2 for -4 yards, but a touchdown, which is the one that tied the game. Mostert fumbled and lost it, and that led to points. And our defense gave us 1 sack, and that was from Chop Robinson. Jalen Ramsey caught a nasty pick off of Keon Coleman. And that was it. That's all we had to put up with. We're 2-6. The season's basically over because the Bills are 7-2. The division is pretty much cinched up. This is one of the worst divisions in football. So, yeah, the AFC East is just the Bills, and that's it. That's what it is. Josh Allen went 25 for 39, 235. An average of 6, a completion, an attempt, 3 TDs, 1 pick, 1 sack for 4 yards, 68.6 QBR, 95.6 rating. James Cook went 10 carries for 44 yards. Ty Johnson went 3 for 23. Ray Davis went 4 for 20. Josh Allen only ran the ball for 7 yards on 2 carries. Ray Davis went 2 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, a nice touchdown that he broke a tackle and he left for 63 yards on 2 targets. Khalil Shakir went 6 for 50 on 7 targets. Dalton Kincaid went 4 for 32 on 10 targets. Dalton Kincaid, we have to convert that more. If you're getting 10 targets, being the most targeted guy on the team, you need to convert on those completions, on those attempts. Matt Collins went 5 for 33 and a touchdown. Keon Coleman went 1 for 21 on 2 targets. They got to find him more. James Cook went 5 for 25. Dawson Knox went 1 for 5. And Quentin Morris caught 1 for 2 yards, and that 2 yards was a touchdown. Kyrie Elam recovered a fumble, the one that Mostert fumbled. And then their defense gave him 1 sack coming from Greg Rousseau, the UM grad. No interceptions, but they just played a cleaner game. They're the better team, and they won. Ravens-Broncos, we're not going to get too much into this. This is all I'll say. Bo Nix is the future for the Broncos. He went 19 for 33, 223, 4 sacks for 28 yards. Cortland Sutton threw him a touchdown pass to make it 10-7, and that was it. That was really it. Javonte Williams went 12 for 42. Bo Nix went 6 for 36 on the ground. Cortland Sutton went 7 for 122, long of 33 on 10 targets, so he's his number 1 receiver. Javonte went 2 for 42. Troy Franklin went 1 for 19 on 4 targets. Jordan Humphrey dropped some balls on 5 targets. He went 2 for 11. Velez went 2 for 11 on 3 targets. Their defense got 1 sack, John Franklin Myers. And that was it for the Ravens. Oh boy. It's between the Ravens, Chiefs, and Lions for the best teams in the NFL. And the Ravens and Lions add 2 different things to the table. The Ravens have an all-time duo in the backfield. The Lions just have a great scheme, system, culture with the coach, and just play hard-nosed football. Okay? 41-10 Ravens. Lamar Jackson went 16 for 19. You're like, 41-10, 16 for 19, 280, 14.7 yards an attempt, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 1 sack for 11 yards, 97.1 QBR, insane. A perfect passer rating, 158.3, breaks the record for most perfect passer rating games in NFL history, passing Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Kurt Warner. He has 4 now. Nobody has more than that. Derrick Henry went 23 carries for 106 and 2 touchdowns, just mauling people. Zay Flowers went 5 catches for 127 on 6 targets, 2 touchdowns, along a 53 where he catches it, stops on a dime, shakes somebody, and takes off. This team is just different, guys. It's just different. Too many weapons, too much Lamar being a great quarterback now, in the pocket, fully mature as a quarterback, in his prime, going for his 3rd MVP, 2nd in a row. It's insane. Derrick Henry fumbled. Lamar Jackson recovered it. Lamar Jackson also fumbled. And then the defense gave him 4 sacks. Trenton Simpson gave him a sack. Malik Harrison gave him a sack. And Tavius Robinson gave him a sack. Gave him 2 sacks. And they got Adarius Washington with a pick. They just dominated. This is what you expected at home. They just dominated. Lamar did the Lamar MVP thing. They're 6-3. They're still 2nd in their division because they're behind Pittsburgh in division wins, but I think that's going to change very soon. But a hell of a win by the Ravens, and just stomping on everybody's neck as they've been doing since that bad start, 0-2, and just showing that they're one of the best teams in the NFL by far. Another thing about this Broncos-Ravens game is, like, Derrick Henry is the fifth fastest running back to ever get to 100 career touchdowns. He's now like 102. He has over 1,000 yards in just 9 games this year. So the 2,000 yard mark, who he already hit once, and I don't think anybody's hit more than once in their career, right now at this moment is attainable. And I'm the type of guy where I thought he was already a Hall of Famer. But if he pulls this off in his first year with the Ravens, and let's say they somehow knock off the Chiefs and win a Super Bowl, that cements his place in Canton. Lamar's place in Canton is already cemented with all the history he's already done, even without a Super Bowl. Basically, not 8 games away from his 3rd MVP, 2nd straight. And then Derek would probably win his 2nd AP Offensive Player of the Year. So, what they're doing as an offense is something we couldn't fathom. I said when the deal went down, I was like, that would be something crazy. Like, that would be something, like, if they figure it out, that'd be insane. They figured it out. Harbaugh's figured it out. And this offense is clicking. And it's not just clicking, because the way that Lamar has controlled the pocket this year and thrown from the pocket and been accurate, on time, even with the spectacular plays, is insane. He's playing better than ever. His mind has finally matured to where his body's athletic ability is. I think that the fact that he got slimmer and went back to kind of his Louisville type of weight, where he was extremely fast, extremely quick, really added to his overall understanding of the game, knowing that he could take off and have that speed, but also understanding that he doesn't have to take off if he has a clean pocket. And that's something very, very scary for the rest of the league that's going to keep getting better as the year goes on. They're just insane. Their pass defense got to get better, though. Like, if you're going to face, let's say, even in the Super Bowl, you face a Lions, or you have to face a Bills, or you have to face a Kansas City, or even a Texans, that defensive secondary, starting with Kyle Hamilton, got to catch the interceptions that are thrown to you, because you're going to be in shootouts, and you don't want to be in shootouts, not with the type of offense you got to that you can blow people out. There's no need to be in stressful situations, so that's the thing about the Ravens. Chargers, 27-10 against the Browns. Listen, this is a playoff team. They don't have much. They have J.K. Dobbins. They have super talented Justin Herbert. Johnston is figuring it out. Ladd McConkey, I feel like right now is his number one target, the one that he trusts the most. Josh Palmer made a little splash this week, but he went 18 for 27, 282, 10.4 average an attempt, 2 touchdowns, 6 sacks for 36 yards, 59.2 QBR, and 125.8 rating. He's playing pretty well, pretty efficient. JK went 14 for 85 and a touchdown on 6.1 yards a carry. You got Quentin Johnston with 4 catches for 118 yards and a long of 66, a touchdown. So he's showing off that TCU speed. We saw that playmaking ability. He's starting to catch the ball more consistently. So maybe he could turn into that deep threat that they need. That kind of like Mike Williams used to be. And that was on 5 targets. Ladd McConkey went 5 for 64 on 7 targets, 12.8 a reception, which is pretty good. Quentin went 29.5 a reception, which is insane. And then you had Joshua Palmer with 2 for 63 on 4 targets and a touchdown, along with 28. JK caught 2 for 20. No fumbles. And the defense got 6 sacks, including 2.5 by Tuli Tolotuopu. Half a sack by Cam Hart, 2 sacks by Morgan Fox, a sack by A.J. Finley, a sack by Jerry Sear Taylor. Wait, hold up. No. 2 sacks by Morgan Fox, half a sack by Cam Hart, and that's it. Interceptions, Alohi Gilman had one, Tarheeb Steele had one, and Elijah Molden had one. As for the Browns, listen, this team is done. Okay, there's no hope for them in the division. There's no hope for them to reach playoffs. Like, it is time for them to blow it up once again, all the way to the studs, and start rebuilding. If I were them, I would sit Jameis Winston, and I would just start DTR because, like, he's the youngest piece they have, and they should try to develop him as much as they can instead of just leaving the failure of the franchise to a guy who's not going to elevate anything. Jameis Winston went 26 for 46, 235, 5.1 yards an attempt. 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 6 sacks for 22 yards, 27.8 QBR, a rating of 50.5. Chubb went 15 for 39, so he's not back to being himself yet, and they're not blocking for him either because they're not full strength at the line. Cedric Tillman was their leading receiver, 6 for 75 on 11 targets. Jerry Jeudy went 7 for 73 on 11 targets. Cedric Tillman caught a touchdown. But yeah, that's it. Aikens got 4 targets. Javen Njoku got 7 targets. He went 5 for 29. Elijah Moore got 9 targets, 3 for 28. So they weren't even completing those. Jameis Winston fumbled and recovered it. They got 6 sacks. They got 1 from Devin Bush, 3 from Myles Garrett. So he had a day. He got himself back into that defensive player of the year conversation with that many sacks to get him back to like 7 for the year or something like that, or like 8. You got half by Shelby Harris. You got 1.5 by Dalvin Tomlinson. Yeah, that's it. No interceptions. But you know, the Chargers have to find a way to be able to use their defense to their advantage while still being able to run the ball efficiently. And also, Justin Herbert has to be kept upright for him to make the right throws because he doesn't have super playmakers outside, and they're young. Even if they're going to be super playmakers, they're young right now. So, you know, you gotta understand how that dynamic develops over the course of the season. Next is probably one of the surprises of this week. I thought the Saints really had it in the bag against the Panthers, especially against Bryce Young. This was a dumpster fire game. This was 1-7 versus 2-6. We're going to go through this really quickly, but I don't think it matters. The only thing that matters is that Dennis Allen got fired after this game. He got fired today. I told my dad as soon as they lost, I told him, watch Dennis Allen get fired tomorrow. That's exactly what happened. It was a long time coming. They weren't going nowhere. Chris Olave got his 2nd concussion in 3 weeks. Looked bad. He got carted off. Derek Carr went 18 for 31 for 236 and 1 touchdown, 1 sack for 6, 48.5 QBR, a rating of 92.9. You know, Alvin Kamara went 29 carries. I mean, they passed the ball 31 times, ran the ball 29 times. He ran the ball for 155 yards. So he had a really good day. And then he was also their leading receiver with 6 for 60 on 9 targets. But, you know, there's just not enough production once Chris Olave goes down. There's just not enough production on the outside for them to get anything. They don't have Rashid Shaheed. It's literally Alvin Kamara, Jawan Johnson, and Taysom Hill at this point. Foster Moreau caught a touchdown. Chris Olave had 1 target before everything went awry. So, you know, this team is done, man. This team has to, once again, another team that has to break it down to the studs and probably going to let go of Marshawn Lattimore, let go of maybe a Cameron Jordan. We'll see, but right now, it's not looking too good. 1 sack from the defense, coming from half a sack from Nathan Shepard, and then half a sack from Carl Granderson. You had Shamar John Charles caught a pick, a crazy pick, stealing it basically from Xavier Legette. And then on the Panthers side, you got Bryce Young, 16 for 26, 171, 6.6 average, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 1 sack for 5 yards, 47.4 QBR, a rating of 77.6. Chuba Hubbard went 15 for 72. Jatavion Sanders was the rookie out of Texas. The tight end was their leading receiver, 4 for 87 on 5 targets. Jalen Coker, the rookie receiver, I believe out of Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I'll tell you guys right now where he's from. Oh, no, he went to Holy Cross. My bad. Holy Cross. So he went 2 for 36 on 3 targets. Xavier Legette went 4 for 33 on 6 targets and a touchdown. But that's it. Jonathan Mingo has been a bust. Absolute bust. Miles Sanders was a horrible signing. Their defense got 1 sack coming from Charles Harris. No picks. And yeah, it was just embarrassing for the Saints to lose this way and for Dennis Allen to get fired. It's fitting, unfortunately. That's just how the league works. But I think the Saints will be better for that in the future. As for Carolina, don't look into this too much. You guys are still doo-doo dog shit. Garbage me stash. You're probably not winning any more games. This is probably the game that you won. You won by 1, 23-22. So, I don't think there's much looking forward for this team, except I like Xavier Legette. I like Jatavion Sanders, Jalen Coker, but everything else on this team, besides maybe J.C. Horn, and Raheem Blackshear, if that, I don't think that there's anything good about this team. Bengals Raiders, I expected the Bengals to roll. They did, 41-24. Gardner Minshew went 10 for 17, 124, 7.3 average, no touchdowns, no picks, a sack for 7 yards, a QBR of 31.3, a passer rating of 81.5. Then they put Desmond Ridder in. He won 11 for 16, 74 yards and a touchdown, 4 sacks for 34 yards, a 35.2 QBR, 99.5 rating. Madison went 9 carries for 36 yards. So when you're running the ball 21 times and throwing the ball 33 times, that's just no balance. That's how I know you guys suck. Okay, you were also in a shootout with a team that you don't want to be in a shootout with. Jacoby Myers went 8 for 105, no touchdowns on 11 targets. Brock Bowers went 5 for 45 and a touchdown on 8 targets. And then not much else. Gardner Minshew lost a fumble. Desmond Ridder lost a fumble. Their defense did 1 sack, and that was half by John Jenkins and a half by Trayvon Moehrig. Jack Jones had an interception and an interception for a touchdown. One of those classic Jack Jones, like last year against I believe against the Chargers or the Patriots, when he just basically knows it's gonna be a screen to the outside. He jumps in front of it, and he's untouched to the end zone. He had one of those. If we go to the Bengals, it's literally a stat sheet bonanza. It's 27 for 39, 251. You're like, oh, that's not a lot of yards. 6.4 average, but Joe Burrow had 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 sack for 8 yards, a QBR of 85.5, a rating of 115.5. Chase Brown went 27 for 120. Gesicki went 5 for 100 on 6 targets. Jamar Chase went 7 for 43 on 11 targets. That's not a lot of conversion rate there. That's 6.1 yards of a completion there, a reception. Chase Brown went 5 for 37 and a touchdown. Eric All Jr. went 2 for 24. Drew Sample 4 for 14. Yoshi Vash went 1 for 10 and a touchdown. Drew Sample went 4 for 14 and a touchdown. Chase Brown caught a touchdown. Logan Wilson recovered 2 fumbles. Their defense got after it. They got 5 sacks. 1 from Chris Jenkins Jr., the rookie out of Michigan. You got 4 sacks from Trey Hendrickson. He might be leading the league right now in sacks. He went dummy. And then no picks and everything. But they destroyed the Raiders. The Raiders are another. Break it down to the studs. They fired Luke Getsy. They fired a bunch of people. They haven't fired Antonio Pierce. I guess the players still like him, but they need a new offensive system. They need a new quarterback. They need a new everything. Break it down to the studs, blow it up, build it back up again, because that shit ain't working. Commanders beat the Giants 27-22. Jaden keeps playing well. Commanders are 7-2 in clear command of the division, even though the Eagles are playing well now. Jaden went 15 for 22, 209, 9.5, 9.5, 2 touchdowns, QBR of 96, a rating of 128.8. Just playing really well, really efficient. Chris Rodriguez Jr. went 11 for 52 because no Brian Robinson this week. And then Austin Eckler went 11 for 42 and a touchdown. Jaden ran for 35 yards. His leading receiver was Noah Brown, 5 for 60 on 6 targets. Eliminated Zacchaeus, 2 for 48 on 2 targets. Austin Eckler, 3 for 41 on 4 targets. You might ask, where's Terry McLaurin? He just got 2 for 19, but 2 touchdowns and a beautiful fade ball on the left side of the end zone over Deontay Banks' shoulder right into Terry McLaurin. A bread basket right before half. A beautiful, beautiful pass. Bobby Wagner recovered a fumble. And then the defense got 2 sacks. You got 2 from Dante Fowler Jr. No picks. As for the Giants, they scored at home for the first time in a long time. Daniel Jones went 20 for 26, 174, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 2 sacks for 12 yards, 72.5 QBR, a passer rating of 119.7. Tyrone Tracy went 16 for 66. Daniel Jones went 7 for 54 and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors went 9 for 59 on 11 targets. I expected a little bit more production than him, but you could tell that the Washington Commanders really zeroed in on him, probably doubled him and everything like that to try to limit his impact. Theo Johnson went 7 for 51, the rookie out of Penn State, with a touchdown. Darius Slayton went 3 for 49. Wan'Dale Robinson went 3 for 10. And Chris Manhertz caused the other touchdown. He went 1 for 2. Daniel Jones had a fumble. He lost it. The defense gave him no sacks, which is surprising. But against that Commanders offensive line, who's been playing pretty well all year, not surprising at all. So, the Giants are 2-7. Another one. Break it down to the studs. Daniel Jones, don't work. Saquon Barkley, you got rid of him. The only guy that works, the only 2 guys that work on this team to me is Sexy Dexy. Actually, no, there's 4. Sexy Dexy, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Malik Neighbors. Other than that, maybe Wan'Dale Robinson. Other than that, none of this shit works. Okay? Start selling off parts. It's over. Okay? Shout out to the Commanders for 7-2. First time since 1996 or 66. 96. Best start since 96. Cowboys, Falcons. I said, and I picked the Falcons to win. Cowboys are 3-5 now, 27-21, 6-3 Falcons, basically dominating the NFC South. Dak Prescott goes 18 for 24, 133, gets hurt, hamstring injury, going to be out a couple weeks. 1 touchdown, 3 sacks for 7 yards, a QBR of 42.3, a rating of 101.6. Cooper Rush came in. He went 13 for 25, 115, a touchdown, no picks, 47.5 QBR, a 77.9 rating. Rico Dowdle went 12 for 75. Jake Ferguson was the leading receiver with 7 for 71. CeeDee Lamb with 8 for 47 on 12 targets. Rico Dowdle caught a touchdown that was bobbled in the air, and then he caught it. Jalen Tolbert caught a touchdown from Cooper Rush at the end in garbage time. Cooper Rush fumbled, then recovered it. The defense got 2 sacks from Carl Lawson, and that was it. As for the Falcons, they played a really clean game. Kirk Cousins went 19 for 24, 222, an average of 9.3, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 2 sacks for 212 yards, 58.4 QBR, a rating of 144.8, pretty good. Bijan Robinson went 19 for 86. Tyler Algier went 16 for 18. Darnell Mooney went 5 for 88 and a touchdown. Bijan went 5 for 59 in the passing game on 7 targets. That was really nice to see. Drake London caught the first touchdown, and then he got hurt with a hip pointer. He should be fine. Kyle Pitts, not too much this game, 1 for 11 on 1 target. Kirk Cousins lost a fumble. Rayward McLeod recovered a fumble. Bijan Robinson recovered a fumble. Their defense gave him 3 sacks. 1 for Arnold Ebiketie, the other one Caden Ellis, and Grady Jarrett, old reliable. No picks. And for the Dallas Cowboys, you guys are doo-doo. Okay? First mistake, didn't get Derrick Henry. Second mistake, you guys are injury-riddled on the defensive side. Third mistake, you paid Dak all this money. He's not a floor. He's not a ceiling raiser. All you have is CD. People are keying in on that, and you have the worst running game in the whole league because you decided to pick Ezekiel Concrete Feet Elliott, who didn't even make the trip with the team because he missed meetings and being late and not engaged over Derrick Henry. Okay? You guys are a mess. You guys should fire everybody. You guys are an absolute mess. We go to Jaguars. We go to Patriots, Titans. Titans pull it out in overtime. Drake May had this great play. I mean, we're going to go through the numbers in this, but I'm not really going to talk about this game. It's another dumpster fire between 2 dumpster fire franchises right now. Drake May went 29 for 41 for 205 and a touchdown and 2 picks, 4 for 21 on sacks, 59.3 QBR, a rating of 69.8. Drake May also ran for 95 yards on 8 carries, was their leading rusher. Ramondre Stevens went 10 for 16, 1.6 yards a carry with a touchdown. Hunter Henry went 7 for 56 on 8 targets. Ramondre caught a touchdown, 5 for 38 on 5 targets. Pop Douglas went 9 targets, 7 for 35. Just not a lot of production anywhere. Drake May loses a fumbles twice. Ramondre picks up 1. Drake May loses another. And their defense got him 1 sack, and that came from Dietrich Wise Jr. And Jelani Tavai got a pick. All right. For the Titans, Mason Rudolph, 20 for 33, 240, 7.3 average, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 sack for 7 yards, 57.7 QBR, a rating of 90.5. Tony Pollard had a great day, 28 carries, 128 yards. Calvin Ridley went 5 for 73 on 8 targets. Nick Westbrook-Akine went 5 for 50 on 6 targets. Chiga Conko went 3 for 38 on 4 targets. Akine got a touchdown. Nick Vanette went 2 for 33 and a touchdown. Jaquan Jackson fumbled twice. Mason Rudolph fumbled. He recovered it. Jaquan Jackson recovered one. Jeffrey Simmons recovered one. And then James Williams also recovered one. Their defense gave them 4 sacks, which was pretty good. Half a sack by Jack Gibbons. Harold Landry got a sack. Jeffrey Simmons got a sack. Arden Key got a sack. And Sebastian Joseph Day got half a sack. Amani Hooker got 2 picks. Their defense plays relatively well, but that offense is absolutely abysmal. Only Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley are the only 2 really good playmakers. I like Chigo Okonkwo as well. But, with Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback, you're not getting anywhere, okay? We go to Bears-Cardinals. I picked the Bears, immediately regretted it. Actually picked the Cardinals in my parlay. Picked them to win. And this was just 29-9. Just an ass whooping. Caleb Williams went 22 for 41, 217, 5.3, an average, 6 for 46 on sacks, 18.3 QBR, a rating of 68.9, just not good. DeAndre Swift went 16 for 51. Rome Odunze went 5 for 104 on 7 targets, first 100-yard game for the rookie. Keenan Allen went 4 for 36. DJ Moore went 4 for 33. No touchdowns for anybody. DeAndre Swift fumbled. Kevin Byard recovered 1. Elijah Hicks recovered 1. Their defense gave him 3 sacks. Chris Williams, Jacob Martin, and Kevin Byard III. No picks. What we're seeing is that for the second year in a row, basically the number 2 pick has come out to be better than the number 1 pick. We saw it last year with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. We're seeing it this year with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. I don't know what it is about that. I do think that Cliff Kingsbury wanting Jaden Daniels, having coached Caleb, being part of the coaching staff at USC, but knowing that Caleb probably will not be there and wanting Daniels and knowing how to attack and use Daniels to his advantage and his skill set just speaks to what happens when a good system is implemented around a player that has all the talent in the world. Kyler went 13 for 20, nothing crazy, 154, 7.7 a completion or an attempt, 3 for 17 on sacks, 28.9 QBR, 88.83 rating. James Conner went 18 for 107, absolutely destroyed this Bears D-line. Just kept running. Same way Amari DiMercado had a long run before the half of 53. Trey Benson went for 37 yards as well on 8 carries. Trey McBride went 3 for 35 on 4 targets. Elijah Higgins 2 for 34 on 2 targets. Marvin Harrison Jr. 2 for 34 on 5 targets. So the targets are not being divvied up. Rich Gannon knew that the running game was unstoppable, and he just kept going with it, so I don't blame him. Kyler fumbled. He did lose one. So did Marvin Harrison Jr. Their defense gave him 6 sacks, including 2 by Owen Papo, half a sack by Kaiser White, half a sack by Dante Stills, 1.5 sack by Xavier Thomas, and L.J. Collier, half a sack, and Jesse Luqueta had a sack as well. No picks. Just an absolute domination. Just no other way to describe it. Just a running domination by the Cardinals. Jaguars, Eagles. I picked the Eagles. A.J. Brown, he was basically like I believe it was a hamstring injury at the end of the half, and he went into the locker room right after halftime, never came back. Devontae Smith took over. The Jaguars tried to make a comeback because of Nick Sirianni's stupid decisions of not kicking field goals and not kicking extra points to make it a 3-point game throughout the game. Was 22-0 at one time. It ended 28-23. Trevor Lawrence went 16 for 31, 169, 5.5 average. No touchdowns, 2 picks, 2 sacks for 14 yards, a QBR of 32.3, and 40.9 rating. I mean, just abysmal. Travis Etienne, first time back since the injury, 3 for 24. Tank Bigsby, 8 for 22. Evan Ingram went 5 for 45 on 10 targets. Parker Washington, 3 for 41. Austin Trammell, 2 for 40. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 for 22 on 4 targets. So they locked them down. Trammell fumbled and lost it. Trayvon Walker recovered a fumble and returned it to the touchdown. They had 3 sacks, 1 for Jordan Jefferson, 2 for Josh Hines-Allen, and that was it. No interceptions. As for the Eagles, this was the Saquon Barkley game, another one, 27 for 159. Jalen Hurts went 18 for 24, 230, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 9.5 average, 3 for 20 on sacks, 40.8 QBR, or 132.3 rating. Saquon, like I said, 27 for 159, and probably the game of the play of the year and a touchdown, receiving and rushing. And the play of the year probably on a screen pass, on a little check down, honestly. He shakes his first defender, spins out of the second tackle, and then as he's spinning backwards, he jumps up and leaps over the defender that is trying to tackle him backwards. Something that you'll never see again. He cleared him completely, 40 inches in the air. It was incredible. Saquon's just like CMC, guys. Saquon, CMC, Derrick Henry, and Bijan. Those are nasty, especially CMC, Saquon, and Bijan. Those guys, when it comes out the passing game, they're just as good. Jalen Hurts went 13 for 67 and a touchdown. Devontae Smith went 4 for 87 and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley went 3 for 40 and caught the first touchdown of the game. Jahan Dotson finally made a play, 1 for 36. A.J. Brown went 2 for 36, but he got hurt. We'll see how he's doing. Saquon fumbled, and that turned into a touchdown. A weird fumble. Should have been down by contact. Weird fumble, but, they still won. Their defense gave them 2 sacks, 2 by Josh Sweat, and Zach Bond got a pick, and Nakobe Dean got a pick to seal the game in the end zone on a 1st and goal, or 1st and 10. He tried to go to Evan Ingram, I believe, or Parker Washington, and he overthrew him, and Nakobe Dean picked it off and ended the game. Jaguars, I don't know what to tell you guys. You got good talent. You just can't put it together. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's Trevor Lawrence. I just don't know. You have good players. I just don't understand why you guys can't put it together. All right, Lions-Packers. I picked the Lions, 24-14 in Lambeau. You could tell that Julian Love was overwhelmed, especially with the groin injury. Jared Goff went 18 for 22, 145, 6.6 yards an attempt. He started 11 for 11. 1 touchdown, 1 sack for 8 yards, 88.9 QBR, a 109.3 rating. David Montgomery went 7 for 73, just basically ran roughshod on him. Jahmyr Gibbs went 11 for 65 and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown went 7 for 56 and a touchdown on a beautiful double move in the corner of the end zone. Back shoulder, Sam Laporta went 2 for 28. Like, it was just, normal. It was just running, good defense. Brian Branch got ejected early in the game. That didn't affect the Lions in one bit. Shouldn't have gotten ejected, I don't think. Their defense gave them 0 sacks, but they played really good in the back end. Kirby Joseph got a pick 6 on a stupid play by Julian Love, knowing that he can't run. Instead of throwing it away, he tried to throw it over him. He picked it, unfortunately, and took it to the house. That made it 17. I made it at least 17-0, 17-3 at that point. And that was basically wraps. Jordan Love went 23 for 39, 273, no touchdowns and a pick, 7.7 yards an attempt, 31.1 QBR, rating of 69.7. Josh Jacobs went the 13 for 95, had a good day, especially at the beginning of the day. Jaden Reed went 5 for 113 on 6 targets. That's their number one. Christian Watson went 3 for 37 on 7 targets. Tucker Kraft got 6 targets. He went 4 for 34. Romeo Dobbs got 5 targets, went 4 for 28. Jordan Love had 3 fumbles, recovered 2, and then Emmanuel Wilson recovered the third one. Their defense gave him 1 sack, a half by Aaron Mosby, the other one by Rashawn Gary. They didn't get no picks. They're 6-3 right now. They're still in it, but they're third in the division behind the Lions and behind the Vikings. So it's going to be tough for them to, I think, make the playoffs. They're just really young. Jordan Love has to still learn like what to do in those circumstances. But I think he'll get better. He's just a little bit too gunslinger right now and not enough smarts. Rams win in overtime against the Seahawks, 26-20. Crazy fourth quarter. But once you have Stafford, 25 for 44, 298, 6.8, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 0 sacks, 64.2 QBR, a rating of 83.3. So nothing crazy. Kyron Williams went 22 for 69. Hello. Cooper Kupp went 11 for 104 on 14 targets. They had to force feed him because Puka Nacua got hurt coming out of second quarter or something like that. He got hurt and didn't return, so it was just Cooper out there. Tyler Johnson went 3 for 38. DeMarcus Robinson caught the game-winning touchdown, 6 for 94, and 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. Matthew Stafford fumbled. He recovered. Kyron Williams fumbled. And then Cameron Kitchens fumbled and recovered as well. Cooper Kupp recovered Kyron Williams' fumble. And then their defense gave them 7 sacks. They were out there. Quentin Lake got a sack. Kobe Turner got a sack. Byron Young got a sack. You got half a sack by Tyler Davis. Jared Verse got his first sack. Braden Fisk got 2 sacks. So the 2 rookies out of FSU are making do. Michael Hoyt got half a sack. So they were out there. Cameron Kitchens caught a pick and returned it 103 yards for a touchdown. The rookie out of UM. Jalen McCullough got a pick. So like the Rams just kind of like held in there and then just let Matthew Stafford kind of take over. Geno Smith went 21 for 34, 363, 10.7 an attempt, but he had 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. So that's just not a recipe for success. 7 for 46 on sacks, 20.6 QBR, a rating of 90.7. Kenneth Walker went 25 for 83. Jackson Smith and Jiggo went 7 for 180, so that's his career high for 2 touchdowns along with 46, including the one that tied the game. Tyler Lockett went 3 for 63 and a touchdown. Cody White went 2 for 44. AJ Barner, 2 rookies, went 4 for 27 on 7 targets. He dropped some as well. Geno Smith had a fumble and recovered it. Connor Williams had a fumble. And then Kenneth Walker recovered that one. Their defense gave him 0 sacks, unfortunately. And Reek Woolen got 1 pick. For the Seahawks, they're 4-5. It's tough in that NFC. West with 49ers reeling. You got the Rams winning this division matchup at 4-4. Arizona Cardinals are the number 1 seed right now. Are the division leaders right now, which is crazy to say. The So it's a very interesting division right now, how it is deadlock at the top. And then finally, Colts Vikings. Vikings won. I picked the Vikings to win. Just too much. Joe Flacco started this week after the benching of AR. Last week after tapping out, where no quarterback is supposed to tap out. You're dumb. I understand you haven't played much football at all, but you cannot tap out of a game as a quarterback, especially it was like third and goal. Like you can't do that. So they reprimanded him, but Joe Flacco, I mean, they lost 21-13. Joe Flacco went 18 for 27 for 179 yards, no touchdowns, a pick, 3 for 20 on sacks, 14.6 QBR, 63.7 rating. Jonathan Taylor went 13 for 48. There was nothing there. Josh Downs were 6 for 60 on 9 targets. Alec Pierce went 3 for 41. They're not using Michael Pittman anymore, 1 for 14 on 4 targets. Adonai Mitchell got 1 catch. Joe Flacco lost a fumble. Kenny Moore recovered a fumble. Their defense gave him 4 sacks, that being DeForest Buckner, 2 by Grover Stewart, and 1 by Kwity Paye. Then Nick Cross got a pick, and so did Zaire Franklin. But all for naught. Vikings go Sam Darnold, 28 for 34, 290, 8.5, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 4 for 30 on sacks, 52.5 QBR, rating of 107.1. Justin Jefferson also passed for 22 yards as well, 1 pass. Aaron Jones went 21 for 64. Cam Akers went 6 for 46. Justin Jefferson went 7 for 137. No touchdown, though, on 9 targets. Josh Oliver went 5 for 58 and a touchdown on 5 targets. Jordan Addison went 5 for 42 and a touchdown on 5 targets. TJ Hawkinson back in the lineup after being on the PUP list all season, 3 for 27 on 4 targets. Aaron Jones, 4 for 18 on 4 targets. Sam Darnold lost a fumble. Harrison Smith recovered a fumble. Their defense gave him 3 sacks, and that being from Jonathan Grenard gave him 2, and Jihad Ward gave him 1. Byron Murphy caught a pick, and that's all she wrote for the Minnesota Vikings, 6-2 at the top of the NFC North, as at the second seed in the NFC North, behind the Lions. As we speak right now, the Chiefs are in overtime with the ball at the Tampa Bay 28, 24-24 versus the Bucs. I picked the Chiefs to win. D-Hop has gotten a lot more involved. Travis Kelce has woken up a little bit more. And as this team gets healthier on the offensive side of the ball, I think they're just going to keep rolling. I believe they're going to win. If they score a touchdown, they win. If they hit a field goal, then Buccaneers are going to get the ball. I believe. I don't think the Buccaneers have gotten the ball yet. I'm not sure. But it's 24-24 right now, 2nd and 8. Tampa Bay 26, 6:53 left in overtime. And yeah, that's football week 9. Now, NBA started, so we're going to hit on that a little bit. We're going to hit on the standings. We're going to hit what's happened. So the East, as of right now, Cleveland's undefeated 8-0, which Evan Mobley and Darius Garland are playing really, really good basketball. Boston's 7-1. Boston's playing Boston basketball. Brooklyn is the surprise. They're 4-4. Started 4-0, but now they're 4-4. Cam Thomas was averaging like 30 those first 4 games. You got New York 3-3, Miami 3-3, Chicago 3-4. Now with Lonzo Ball back and no DeMar DeRozan. Orlando 3-4, but Paolo's out for an extended period of time with a torn oblique. Atlanta's 3-5, Detroit's 3-5, Washington's 2-4, Indiana's 2-4, Charlotte's 2-4, although LaMelo's been playing really well. Toronto's 2-5, Philly's 1-4, and Milwaukee is dead last 1-6. I don't know what is happening with Milwaukee right now, but they better pick it up because it's gonna be an abject failure. And then the 76ers haven't won anything because it's just Maxey out there. He has no help until today. He got Paul George to play. On the West, it's 6-0 OKC, looking better than ever. 6-1 Golden State with no Steph Curry the last 3 games. Then you have Phoenix at 5-1, Dallas at 4-2, Lakers playing pretty well 4-3, the Rockets playing pretty well at 4-3, Sacramento 4-3, Memphis is 4-4 now with Ja back, San Antonio's 3-3, Minnesota's 3-3, Denver's 3-3, New Orleans is 3-4, Clippers are 2-4. Of course, all they got is James Harden. Portland is 2-5, and Utah's 1-6. Still early, but early indications look like Cleveland, Boston are going to be definite contenders. Golden State might have a surprise season here with Buddy Hield playing really well. I still need to see more from Ja. Need to see more from Denver, more from Minnesota. Got to get figured out the Julius Randle minutes and stuff like that. I like Houston. I expect Dallas to be there. I expect Phoenix to be there now that they've figured out their rotations and how to score with all 3 heads on the floor. So, so far, pretty good. Nice highlights, some good games, some blowouts. Nothing crazy yet, but love that the NBA's back. And with that, guys, we have reached the conclusion of this episode. I will most likely be uploading more episodes this week, catching up on what happened in the last few weeks when I've been gone. But thank you so much for your support. I love you guys. God bless you guys. And I leave you all with the outro.
Que todo